Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC and welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be installing our overhead cabinets in this Ford Transit. Let's jump right in. So we're jumping into this project with an assembled cabinet. If you haven't gotten to this step yet, go ahead and check the link in the description below. We have a video of how to assemble these cabinets. Our first step for this project is going to be prepping our cabinets for install. So let's go ahead and pop these doors off and get ready to bolt the cabinets into one unit. We can take a small screwdriver, insert it into the hinge and push down, releasing the cleat that's attached to the door. With both of those released, we can pull the door out and set that aside. With our doors removed, let's go ahead and fold these arms in so we don't damage the lifting mechanism. With our doors removed, we're ready to mate these cabinets into one complete unit. Now, these cabinets can be installed individually, so if you don't have some friends to help you lift these up into the van as one complete unit, they can be done by themselves. But for the best result, I recommend aligning them here on the table and then installing it all in one piece. So you'll notice in between each cabinet there are 4 holes here, and those are so that we can bolt the cabinets all together into one unit. So we do include some 1/4-20 hardware, so you can bolt all of these together. So let's go ahead and bolt these into one complete unit. So for each one of these holes, we're going to use a 1/4-20 fastener. We're going to put a washer on the inside. Then on the adjoining cabinet, we're going to put a washer and a nylock nut. We're going to dry fit all of these things first, and then we're going to tighten them up. As we tighten, we're going to make sure the alignment of our face plates is as perfect as possible. To aid in alignment, if you just finished assembling your cabinets, you're going to have the cardboard boxes from our lifting hinges. These happen to be a pretty good size to help lift the shorter cabinet and line it up with the taller cabinet. So let's use the same principles that we used to bolt the first 2 cabinets together to go ahead and complete the second and third cabinet. I'll meet you in the van and we'll take a look at what we did to prepare the van for our install. To get to this point, we've completed our interior base package, or what we call here at AVC, the tube. So we have all of our wall panels installed, we have our flooring system installed, all of our pre-wire is behind the walls, and we've installed our unistrut. Now to install our overhead cabinet, we need the forward upper unistrut, our rear upper unistrut, as well as our ceiling unistrut on the driver's side. If you're curious how and where we installed this unistrut in our van, we have a video for that, and check out the link in the description below. Let's go outside the van and take a look at the cabinet that's ready to install. Let's review the anatomy of our overhead cabinet so we understand the next steps for our install. First, we've taken off the doors to allow easier access inside the cabinet to install our hardware. The pill shapes that are here on top of the cabinets correspond with the unistrut on the ceiling of our van, and the pill shapes here at the back of the cabinet are going to correspond with the unistrut on the wall of our van. And then finally, the interior space here is for our control panel. We're going to make sure we bring all of our wiring into this cubby so we're ready to install this cabinet. Our next step is going to be dry fitting this cabinet inside the van. We always recommend to have 3 people to do this, just so that as one person is working, the other 2 can support the weight of the cabinet. So we're going to grab this cabinet, we're going to dry fit it in the van and just hold it in place. We're going to check our alignment front to back on that upper driver's side wall. Once we're happy with the placement, we're going to use our silver Sharpie, and we're going to mark through the pill shapes and mark our unistrut so we know where to install our strut nuts. We're also going to mark inside our control panel area, so we know where we can safely bring wires into this cabinet. Then we're going to bring the cabinet back up to the table, set it down, and get that work done. With our strut nuts in place, we're ready to start our final install of this overhead cabinet. If you take a look at the hardware provided, you're going to notice that we have a few extra long bolts included, and we use these as starter bolts. So the starter bolts are going to allow us to easily find the strut nut in the roof of the van while we're supporting the weight of this cabinet. This can be a trying process, and these are going to make it a little bit easier. So we're going to fish this long bolt through our overhead cabinet, and we're going to just secure it into the strut nut to support the weight of the cabinet. With a few of these starter bolts in place, we can take a pause, we can check the rest of our hardware, and then we can start changing out to shorter and shorter sizes till we reach our final install length. So at this point, we have 3 bolts holding this overhead cabinet in. We have 1 here in the ceiling, we have 1 underneath here in the middle of the cabinet, and then we have 1 in the ceiling here at the front of the cabinet. Our cabinet is now hung inside the van, and we can start changing out our hardware for smaller and smaller bolts. You will notice inside the kit we give you some extra hardware. So we do have some extra washers, we have some extra long bolts, and those are so that we can add tension during this process. Our final stack assembly should be one of our shorter bolts with a fender washer and a split washer to keep everything tight as we rattle down dirt roads. Now it's time to bolt in our cabinet, making sure we add hardware to every hole. So we're in here and we're starting to add all of our hardware in to install our cabinet, and one of our strut nuts is not perfectly aligned. So I'm just going to use a little screwdriver, and really any screwdriver can do this. I'm going to reach through the hole and just slide that strut nut into place. Make sure it's lined up with my hole. Then I'm ready to get my hardware in that. All of our bolts are in and tight, and this cabinet is secure. We're ready to reinstall our doors. Careful when you're opening up these brackets, they can explode open. so you want to make sure you're not in front of those and getting popped. Just line your hinges with those top plates and click them into place. Give them a pull back just to make sure everything's nice and tight, and you're set. With this last door in place, our cabinet install is complete. If you have any questions about the process, please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.